So the second round is like you can touch the breast or chest and the butt, but you can't touch the genitals. And then the third round is where you can touch the genitals and map there.
Nipples in the second round, okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yes.
All right, good. Welcome to Games of Amore, where we explore romantic relationships and the games we all play and love. I'm your host, Caesar, joined today with our guest host, Diana.
Hi, everybody.
And today we are speaking with Marla Stewart, CEO, co-founder of Velvet Sex Lips Education. And tell us a bit more about yourself, Marla.
Yes. Well, hi, everyone. I am Marla Stewart. I am the owner and CEO of Velvet Lips Sex Ed. And I'm also one of the co-founders of the Sex Down South Conference. And I also run a business program for folks in sex-based or erotic-based businesses called the Successful Business Program. So I do all that. I teach at a university. I teach like 1 to 2 classes a semester. And I do lots of things, but mostly I am a sexologist and sexual strategist, really helping people to, really helping people in their sex lives. So whether it's, I specialize in like seduction, communication, sex skills, LGBTQI+, non-monogamous folks, kink and BDSM. Those are all kind of like my specialties.
And what were you doing before this profession?
This is what I've been doing my whole entire time since I've graduated college.
Really?
Yeah.
So what did you go to school for sexology?
I did. I went to
Really?
school. Well, I went to school. My background is in psychology. So I got my BA in psychology and I minored in human sexuality and LGBT studies. And then I went to graduate school and got my master's in sociology and gender and sexuality.
Wow.
And currently I'm in a PhD program for clinical sexology.
Wow, interesting. I'm not trying to at all sound insulting. It's from ignorance. I didn't realize sexology was an actual topic or focus that people would study.
Oh, yeah.
So I learned something just now with that. That's pretty cool. So, I mean, I get the sociology. Makes total sense. I get the human behavior understanding that you have. But why sex? Why did you say, hey, this is the calling? Obviously, you want to work with people, help people. You took that career path. And what made you say sex is the lane for me?
Yeah, well, I think there's a couple of aspects to it, right? So one is I grew up with a sex-positive parent, I would say. I don't think she would have labeled herself a sex-positive parent. It was more like, I don't want my child to get pregnant. And so like, I'm going to explain everything about sex and sexuality because I got pregnant. You know, she got pregnant when she was young. And so she really was just like, I don't want my daughter to end up the way, like being a single parent as a teenager is hard. And so she just didn't want me to have that same experience. And so, so she was like, when you get horny, this is what it feels like. If you get a UTI, this is what it feels like. This is what a yeast infection feels like. You know, no questions asked. If you need me to take you to the hospital, I will take you to the hospital. Like, you know,
That's really amazing.
Yeah.
If you don't mind me asking, was your mother educated, higher level of education?
No. My mom got her master's after I got my master's.
No.
So.
Oh, wow. Shout out to mom.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But
I love that.
She was in school. So she was in college when I was a kid. So sometimes I would go to her college classes with her. If she didn't have childcare, that kind of thing. So she's just kind of like, she was like, it was just very hard and she didn't want me to go through that. So she educated me about my body, about sex. When I came out as bisexual when I was 16, she handed me like a lesbian sex pamphlet and was just like, I don't know what they do, but here you go, you know? And
wow, your mom is amazing.
Yeah.
That's why I was wondering, because, you know, that's not common, especially for people at our ages or a little older stages, for parents to be that way. I'm assuming she was an educated woman. You know what I mean? That's why I asked, because it's like an anomaly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
No, I think it was fear-based.
Yeah.
was very much fear-based.
Yeah.
But I'm very, very thankful for her. And even though I was a teenager at the time, it was just like weird, right? Because it was just like, Mom, like, leave me alone, stop, like, but I'm just so very thankful that I had that.
How old were you when she first started having those conversations?
Oh gosh, second grade is when she first started talking to me about my body, started talking to me about, sort of like the stranger danger kind of talk, or if someone touches you, on your kitty cat, let me know, if they threaten you, you let me know, she really just kind of wanted me to be at a place where I knew all the things about my body, and I knew who could touch my body, or how to navigate my body. And it was really, it's not like she was like, this is what people do to have sex in second grade. She didn't do anything like that, but it was just more so educating me about, parts of the body and what they do.
She opened the platform.
Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
When did she start getting more like birds and bees talk, I guess?
Gosh, I want to say that was it was around elementary school when she, I think, started to see like other kids like developing, like growing breasts, or like, kids getting their periods. So this had to be about maybe third and fourth grade. And then we started having sex ed, I think, around fifth, sixth grade. So, and I was in California, so we had like comprehensive sex ed at the time. So, but I think third and fourth grade is when she was just like, okay, like, people are starting to have sex your age, like you need to.
At third and fourth grade?
Like third and fourth grade, like, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So this is like 8, 9. Yeah. Like 8, 9. People are starting to go beyond playing doctor, right? Because like as a kid, people are, you explore as a kid and whatnot. But I think at that age, and maybe fifth and sixth grade is when people start to,
For sure, yeah. But it's honestly, when you're at that stage, it doesn't seem like young, but obviously now you're like, oh my God, 9, right? It blows your mind, but it's true.
Yeah.
It's true. I remember even little boys that were probably just being molested by women, that they would tell you, like, yeah, when I was 9, that's the first time a woman touched my whatever, and that's the first time, and you're just like, that was really young, but the boy doesn't see it that way. He thinks he's cool.
Right.
But it's like, yeah, those stories start happening at those ages, and it blows my mind.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And I have a friend who's a social worker who these kids, they knew what sex was at 7 and 8. They knew exactly what it was. And I worked at a youth center, and the youth center was for 25 and younger. And there was a kid there, she was 9. She had a girlfriend at 9 years old. So it was kind of like, all right,
Yeah, but that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Totally makes sense. You have a crush. It just happens to be of the same gender. You know what I mean? And like now she feels comfortable expressing herself. I feel like that's normal for a child to have feelings for other children. I just think I'm just old school, that I feel like they shouldn't be doing those things. You know what I mean? Like you're a kid, you know what I mean? So yeah.
But I think you can recognize a crush more so than the sexual acts, right?
Yes.
So I think recognizing that psychological piece of it rather than the sexual, physical piece of it, I think that is a part that we recognize sooner. And I think that's probably why when we were younger, we're just like, oh yeah, well I have a crush, Right.
Right. Yeah,
Crush is a kiss, rather than I want to touch your genitals, you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. So given like your experience, what would you have changed? Or like when do you, what would you have changed given your sexual education experience now? Like, would you have told your younger self certain things at certain ages? Introduce certain topics earlier maybe? Or later?
I don't know if I would change anything. I feel like my mom equipped me with sexual responsibility and what that looks like. So when she said, when you want to have sex, then you go to the store and you buy condoms. And that's when you know you're ready to have sex. And so I took that to heart. So when, my boyfriend and I were like, okay, I think we're ready to have sex now, I went to the store. I was like nervous, but like I bought the condoms and like, it was like paying for the condoms and, and it was just like, oh my gosh, okay, I'm doing this. So, okay, I'm ready, I'm ready for this. And we both had never had sex with anyone before. So it was just kind of like, okay, we're like, doing this and doing it responsibly. And his mom, very interesting. I mean, it might be just a California thing. His mom was like, they were a Mexican family, and she said if he's going to have sex, like for him and his brothers, they need to be in her house. So I went over there, and like she wasn't home, but like it was just like he had older brothers and stuff, and she was basically like, you have sex in this house. Like, you don't have sex anywhere else.
Okay.
So it was kind of like, if you're going to do it here. I feel better if, I feel comfortable with you doing it here. And so that was helpful because my mom was like, you are not having sex in this house. I don't care that you're ready, but you ain't having sex here. You know what I mean?
I can understand that.
Like,
That's
you got
fair.
the door open.
Yeah.
When people come over, like my mom was very like, you can have sex, you can't do it here. So, so there's sort of, rules and boundaries. And like I said, she really taught me about sexual responsibility. But I think what played into my career really was the educational piece in going to college and like being experiential with all sorts of different people. Like I was dating baseball players and women's basketball players, and like I was dating like the gamut of people. And what I realized is that my friends, were having sex, but they weren't having orgasms. And I was like, that's a problem because I'm having amazing orgasms and I don't understand why you're not having any, And so I just found it to be a problem that we were, like lots of women were having sex and not having orgasms. So I just kind of like wanted to make it my mission of,
Did you find a common reason?
That why they weren't having orgasms? Yeah, the common reasons were they weren't communicating what they want, what they desired. They weren't really educated about their bodies. They were kind of being more submissive and not taking charge of their own sexuality and what they wanted. And so, yeah, it was lots of communication components to it.
Just not expressing yourself.
Yeah. And not knowing either, because maybe you're not having good lovers.
Right. That was what I was going to say. Like, how do you tell a woman whether or not she even knows she's having an orgasm? Like, you know what I mean? Like, because I'm sure, that's what I'm saying. The reason I'm saying that is like, what if you've had a lot of bad sex and that's been your experience and you just have never had, like, how do you explain to a woman what it is that she's supposed to feel?
Oof. Well, because it's one of those things that orgasm is sort of like when you know, you know what I mean? And so when people are like, well, I don't know if I've had an orgasm or not, like, well, then you probably haven't, right? And or if you are on birth control, that could subdue your orgasm. So a lot of times I'm like, if you're on birth control, you might have had an orgasm, but it might have been of an orgasm because of the hormonal effects of birth control. All
the hormones that you're putting in, okay.
So I really encourage people to not take birth control and to use other birth control methods besides like the pill or other hormonal birth control.
Like what?
Like, there's like, I think there's like the copper IUD, there's, I definitely subscribe into like charting your charting your periods if
That's
you have
the
regular
old school.
periods.
That's the way it was. The way it used to be.
Yeah, so it's like don't have sex when you're ovulating. You can't get pregnant. But a lot of people, we grow up to think that if you have penetrative sex with a penis, you can get pregnant at any point in time.
100%.
Yeah, they put the fear, the fear of God in you, like this is gonna happen. But in reality, 3 weeks out of the month, that's not true. Right?
So only 1 week out of the month.
About pretty much like 5 to 7 days, maybe during their ovulation period. And really, it's like 5 days.
And how do you know they're ovulating? Like, what does that mean?
So you would track it on your, like, now they have period apps. So you would like track it on you could track it on your app now. But you could feel your discharge, your vaginal discharge. When you're ovulating, it becomes like a milky white substance. And so that's when you know, okay, I probably really shouldn't have sex right now because I'm definitely, the egg is traveling to the uterus.
And you're extra horny too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So you're extra horny. Your body is just like, gimme.
Right, exactly.
That have that sort of the natural sort of procreation, biological sort of needs that that some of us get.
Gotcha. Okay. So, have you been able to help women like get more orgasms?
Oh yes.
That's amazing.
So exciting. I love it. Because that's where I started, right? It was just like, why are these people having orgasms? And then now, oh my gosh, I have a client right now who I've been seeing for years. And she started off just being like, I've never had an orgasm. What do I do? She's went from not having an orgasm to having like squirting orgasms. You know what I mean? So it's just like, and I love that. You know what I mean? Just because she's learning more about her body. She's learning, what her desire is, how to foster that desire. And so for me, that's beautiful.
All right, you know what? Let's do a fun little exercise.
Okay.
Let's
I'm ready for it.
Let's imagine we're kind of like doing a little therapy for a couple that they don't know what they're doing.
Okay.
Right? What kind of advice?
They don't know what they're doing because like they're just too
Lack
people
of
have never had
experience.
sex
Whatever,
before.
they
Okay.
Lack of
They
experience.
just don't know what.
Okay.
What would you tell them as far as advice of like how to explore the body, right? How to explore each other.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that we like to do in sort of the sexology world is an exercise called sensate focus. And what that is basically a touching exercise where you are touching different parts of the body. So you're touching your lover, right? Different parts of the body, experimenting with pressure, with all sorts of different touches on the body, but you aren't like the first round of it, like you're not supposed to touch the chest or breast, the genitals, or the butt, right? So you touch all around. So exploration of the body and really doing some pleasure mapping, I think is best. So oh, the back of my neck, oh, that's a nice tingly feeling. I wonder if you like lick there or kiss there. I wonder if that would be better. Or, some people are like, ooh, the back of my knees, right? Might be a zone. So thinking about where your erogenous zones are or where those parts are, that is going to help with the foreplay. So
That's called pleasure mapping.
Pleasure. I would say, yeah. There's a sort of different rounds of it with the sensate focus, but pleasure. I would say it's a kind of pleasure mapping.
So does this look like just like practical sense? Like, is this like a hey baby, let me massage you and pleasure map you?
Yeah. Well, it's not like massage, right? Okay. Because massage is definitely like using pressure and kneading and things like that. It's more of just touching the body for a period of time and just having the person who's getting touched vocalize, oh, I like that. Oh, more pressure. Or, oh, maybe you should use this part of your body or whatever. Like, it's really about vocalizing and expressing, really communicating what you like and don't like.
All right, so first things first. All right? Pleasure map. Okay. Let's expand on that.
Okay.
All right. So first we pleasure map with like, I guess, light touches. Right. And then what? We're scratching or what do you do?
You can scratch. You can use light touches. Use the pads of your fingers to touch. You can use pressure. You can grab. You can do all sorts of things. Yeah. You can use other body parts against other body parts.
Okay. Okay, then what?
Then, so the second round would be to not touch So the second round is like you can touch the breast or chest and the butt, but you can't touch the genitals. And then the third round is where you can touch the genitals and map there.
Nipples in the second round, okay?
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. Chest. Yes. Nipples. All of that. Yes.
But just touching, no kissing.
You can kiss with your mouth. Yeah.
Oh, you can kiss on the second round.
So the second round is about, okay, so the first round really is about sort of pleasure mapping, getting sort of where the erogenous zones are. But the second round, you're touching with erotic intent. So you want to turn them on. Okay, so you're like, now you're touching because I want to hump you. You know what I mean? So now you're touching in a way that fuels like your sexual energy into the body.
So is this like, because I'm trying to envision like a date night, like when realistically, like our partners doing this, like, hey baby, let's pleasure map. You know, like,
Excuse me.
like, are you drinking some wine? Are they lying down? Like, what does it look like?
This is a great question. You know, I think you can do all of the above. The only thing I think is if you are drinking, you're not drinking too much. You're only maybe drinking to relax and not drink to get drunk. Because we you know, drinking a little glass of wine or whatever is like a Xanax. So it kind of helps your body relax for a lot of people. But you don't want your body to go numb. You know, so a lot of times when we drink a lot, you know, our bodies go numb, so we don't necessarily have the same types of feelings. So, you know, it can definitely be a fun date night experience. I give it for homework. So
Right.
I kind of, it's usually homeworks for me. So I'm trying to picture it as a date night experience. I'm not sure if people have done it for date night, but it's very much possible. I'm sure people do.
Do they like fill out like a little chart, like little body chart, and like right next to the knee, like, oh, my girl's left back knee, oof, that's the spot.
Well, I think part of it is when you're doing the mapping, you can really sense what someone likes, right? And it's a ding, you know, like, oh, you like that, and you remember. I think you can make it a pleasurable moment by have it being intentional. So whether that is lighting some incense, or maybe it's your favorite sex playlist, or, you know, creating the ambiance to really help your memory with that.
And you're looking for like any kind of like sensation, like literally like, you know, if you go like this and they just do this, that's like
exactly.
like,
Is that ticklish, or do you like that, or you don't like it? Like having them communicate what they you know like.
Okay. All right. So first round, second round. First round, light touch. Second round, erotic intent, but no genital touching. All right. Third round.
Third round, you are going for it, right? So you're touching their you're mapping the genitals. You are really touching to like you want to have sex with them. So it's even more of a turn on kind of touch, right? It's to help facilitate that sexual interaction.
But no sex.
You know, some people do a fourth round where the third round is like, you can touch the genitals, but no sex. But honestly, I'm kind of the person that's like, if you're touching my genitals, most likely, if I let you touch them, I want to do something. So it really just depends on the facilitator, who your coach or therapist is.
I mean, they're not going to be there.
Yeah.
Right. Unless you're into that. Because I would imagine the third round, like, you know, just the genitalia is a huge world in itself, right? You know, like how many women would you say only like don't get orgasms because they don't get clitoris stimulation?
Oh, a lot. So they estimate around 80 to 85% of folks with like vaginas, if they have penetrative sex, most likely they're not going to have an orgasm from penetrative sex, because they're probably not stimulating the internal clitoris. So the external clitoris is more prominent because it's more reachable on most people. So stimulating the clitoris that way externally is going to be your best bet into orgasm.
Internal clitoris, you mean like what they generally refer to as the G-spot, which is like the kind of like little wrinkly section inside, like maybe...
So yes and no. So the clitoris kind of, say this is the clitoris that you can see, right? The little clitoris that you can see. It has a hood on it, right? It has a hood on it, right? But inside, it has this whole, and it has legs on the side. It has these clitoral bulbs. It's a whole internal organ, right? It's basically like if the penis shaft were inside. Okay, so it's the same structure as a penis, but it's just more inside.
I really wish we had like graphics
here. I know. I wish I would bring my clitoris. I would have totally brought it. Yeah. But I mean, I have like tons of models, so I don't know. I didn't think to bring them. I thought we were going to be talking about different things, but that's. But anyways.
Hey, sex education.
I know. So with the clitoris, it's sort of like if the head of the penis, right? Head is very sensitive on the penis, right? So it's basically like the heads that's peeking out for the clitoris, right? So that is where all the stimulation lies, and that's most likely the parts that is going to help you have an orgasm, okay? Now, you can stimulate, so those bulbs and everything on the legs, when you enter into the vagina, right? When you press up, I usually say between 10 and 2. When you press up between 10 and 2, you'll be able to feel that ridgy spot, right? That feels like the roof of your mouth. And that is the female prostate or the G spot, right? It's that bulbous thing. And it's like a sponge, right? So you feel it, feels like kind of spongy material. And then the clitoris basically kind of sits on top of that sponge. That makes sense.
It's just getting to it a different way.
Yeah.
Yeah, different direction. I get it.
Yeah, so in the vagina, you would get into it by, either curving up between 10 and 2, just depending on how your body is made. And when you're curving up, basically the clitoris, the bulbs are going to be on here, the legs are going to be here, and the external clitoris is going to be out here.
In your experience, since you're a bisexual woman, do you think that, in general, it's more pleasurable to have sex with women because women are aware of this? Or do you think, you know what I mean? Or is that because are aware of it? That's like the rumor, though. That's the reputation that women all know. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, realistically, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, how many people do have the knowledge of this appropriate approach to make a woman feel pleasure in sex?
Only when they've been educated about it.
Really?
Yeah, I would say, I think everybody is on equal footing. It doesn't matter who you are. It's just a matter of if you're educated about it or not. Now, what's particularly interesting, right, when we think about the research, like lesbians have more orgasms than like straight women or cis women in heterosexual relationships. So if we think about who's having more orgasms, so gay men are way up there, then it's lesbians, then it's like bisexual people, and then it's like straight people.
Damn, we sleeping.
So when we think about like in terms of like who has the most orgasm, yeah, we could say that, but at the same time, I think people are so individual, so it doesn't matter who you are. It's just a matter of are you able to know somebody's body or get to know somebody's body, and are you patient enough? Are you willing to be patient enough to get to know that person's body? But in all of my experiences with my experiences have mostly been with women. So my experiences with women and men alike, I think it's just a matter of experience and getting to know the body, because honestly, it doesn't. I've had bad sex with everybody. I've had good sex with everybody. So I don't think it matters, honestly.
Okay. No, I mean, I'm a little jealous that women that are lesbians have more orgasms. Like, what's going on here? You know what I mean? Like, Jesus. So it's like, I guess it's very interesting to know. And now these small little talks, just having these anatomy conversations are just, it's a shame that this is not being taught in sex ed in school.
Right.
You know? Because it's like sex ed in school is all about just preventative measures.
Absolutely.
To avoid consequences.
Absolutely.
It's not ever identifying to discover what drives people to get to that point as to why you're even having sex. That's not the conversation.
Right.
The conversation is, if you're gonna do it, this is what happens, don't do sex. You know what I mean? So like that shuts down even the curious mind of learning more and knowing what to do properly.
Yes.
And not hurting a girl. Like, especially when you're in those younger ages. I remember like fingering was really popular and things like that because you're a kid and you're young and you're experimenting. And like that wasn't always pleasant. You know what I mean? Like it was like either rough or whatever, or the guy's hands weren't clean. Like things that girls go through.
Awful.
It's the truth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like not being educated and not knowing what you should be doing. It would just, I would like it to be different in that way. You know what I mean? So it's cool that you even said that, because I know that even a woman, it took me a long time to even learn that about myself. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, power to you that you're standing up and you're doing this for people, because it's such a natural part of life and no one's enjoying it fully.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's crazy. And I want to kind of circle back a bit to when you said that you were taught someone how to have a more explosive orgasm where they were actually squirting and they weren't able to orgasm in the past. That's very fascinating. How did we get there? I mean, that's like a person saying, I know where gold is at. I'm like, where's the gold? You know what I'm saying? Like, how did you do that? That's amazing.
Causing a gold rush. So I think there's a variety of things that have gone into it, right? So one is, for this particular client, she had some traumas.